Hello everyone, I'm Creighton Piper here with Harris Rana, here to talk about Photochain. And before we really get into it, he's going to spend a few moments and introduce the Photochain development team.
Okay, so the Photochain team consists of 8 experts from different industries, bringing together our complementary skills and a great deal of executive experience. And we all have a passion for the crypto economy and a desire to disrupt and innovate the photography industry. Our founder and CEO, Stanislav Stolberg, he has a background in quantum physics. He also has a background in digital transformation and digitalization management. He's responsible for the project's vision and its execution, essentially the DApp's architecture and its development. He has deep expertise in blockchain, in particular in Ethereum smart contracts. Our CTO, Arthur Ishmatev, is also an expert in smart contracts. He's a very experienced software architect with senior experience at a variety of large companies, as well as founding his own companies in the past. Then you have me, Harris Rana. I have a background in Bitcoin and in other technologies. As the community manager, my role here is to promote the project within our main user communities, that is the photography community and the crypto community. We also have a very well-developed advisory board, which includes a former marketing director at Shutterstock. So these are one of the main competitors for the photography market at the moment. And we also have business development experts from multinational companies and digital marketing experts. And finally, we're very proud to announce that we've recently signed a new partnership agreement with Iconic Labs, who are advising us on the development of Photochain. And we are constantly expanding our partnerships and look forward to more in this space.
Beautiful, that sounds solid. All right, guys, before we go to Harris for the finer details of this photo stock, let's go ahead and talk about the Photochain prototype itself. If you navigate to demo.photochain.io, this is what you'll be looking at. This is pretty straightforward. It'll be similar to what you've been used to using, I'm sure. You can either search for whatever's on your mind, whatever images you want to find. You can search for it here, or you can scroll down here and select from one of the generic categories. For the sake of what we're doing here, let's search for something. Let's search for fire. See what that brings up. And as luck would have it, looky there. That is literally a photo of Bitcoin going to the moon. That is appropriate. Well, let's check that out. All right, so here we go. Here's our image resolution. It's 3000 by 1968. This is going to be our cost right here, 95 photons per image. So remember, if you are a seller, if you you have a seller account set up and you are delivering images that you have taken, you're wanting to distribute your product, you are going to be able to capture 95% of that right there. So 95% of your 95 photons is going to go directly to your photon wallet. Compare that to similar photo stocks like Shutterstock. They actually take up to 90% of that price right there. So Photochain delivers almost the entire profit margin to the seller. That's what makes this project so incredible. Also, you can go in and just buy one image at a time. Maybe you're not in the mood for buying 5, 10, 25 photos like you have to buy when you're using Shutterstock, and you don't want to pay a monthly fee. You just want to buy one photo for your current project, whatever you're working on, and that's what you can do with Photochain. So this is absolutely perfect. Let's go ahead and buy it. Add to cart and check out. Very easy. So here's the photo we're going to buy. Here's some of the image information here, and there's the price. Let's go ahead and pay for that. Transaction processing, fetching that from the blockchain, from IPFS. So there, you can. There's your link to the interplanetary file storage where you can fetch the full resolution photo. And this is a list of all of the photos that I have bought so far using the Photochain prototype. So pretty easy and straightforward and very convenient to use. Looking forward to the full launch of this photo stock. Let's go talk to Harrison more. Will there be a GitHub available for this project by chance?
Yes. In due course, there will be a GitHub, probably before the ICO, I believe, so sometime later this year. But right now, that's the main aim right now is to go to our pre-crowd sale, and after this is done, once we have some investment behind us, then we can have all the general resources you would expect associated with this project, including a GitHub available.
Okay, excellent, perfect. So essentially, what Photochain is, it's like a bigger and better decentralized Shutterstock. Is that correct? That's from my research. It seems like that's pretty much what it is intended to be.
Yeah, pretty much. That's a good way of putting it. Although, I mean, Shutterstock itself is a what's known as a photo stock, and you have other ones like Getty Images and Adobe Stock, and there are many, well, not many, but there are a few main players out there. But what they do and how they sell photography is they take a larger proportion of the photography because they essentially run all the trust that the buyer will pay up and that the seller will provide the photo. So by them providing this trust in the between and us acting as the middleman and taking payments, etc., hosting the website and or the platform, the apps they have these days as well to promote these photos, then for this they charge a very high fee. And this, of course, is a very centralized structure. But with a decentralized structure, the aim here is to have buyers connecting directly with the sellers. So the buyers will be able to list on the platform themselves. They will be able to list at their own price, at their own terms, essentially. And because of this, there is no middleman because it's through the blockchain and the trust is inherently built into the blockchain. Then it allows them to take home 95% potentially more of the fees that they generate. And so this will have hopefully very many positive effects on the photography industry because it allows photographers to get just reward. They will have a fair reward for the work they have to do. Photography equipment is also very expensive, and so it will those rather than people being turned away or turned off by the industry because it's just not very profitable, despite it being their hobby, they will be able to do their hobby and make a decent living of it.
Excellent, that's perfect. Yeah, I was reading through your white paper and I did come across that information. I think the figure you listed was with Shutterstock, they take almost 90% of the profit out of it, but you would be delivering 95% of the profit to the photographer. So that's I'm more excited about that than anything else. I think that is very, very exciting. Um,
Yeah.
so then with the Photochain platform, will all of the photos, all the portfolios be kept on decentralized cloud storage? Is that the plan?
So they will be on a decentralized server of kind. Right now, the aim is to host these on IPFS,
Okay.
interplanetary file system. But Photochain itself, the aim is to have an IPFS node built in, and then nodes to store the initial images with through Filecoin, which is the token of IPFS. But then there is, I mean, our team, especially Arthur, are keeping, and Stanislav himself, they're keeping an eye on other decentralized database systems out there. So if something comes along which is more better, more suited to what we can do, because there may well be something. There are a lot of database blockchain technologies out there in development right now, and there are still a lot of problems with decentralized databases themselves. And so as a better solution comes out, then we will see what works with us. The aim here, though, is to work with these other blockchain projects, these database projects, and so we'd work with them to be able to come up with the best solution for us and for similar projects.
Okay, perfect. That was one of my other questions. So I know there are other companies, other projects that they focus on cloud storage. I think storage is one of them, STORJ. So what you're saying is you will be working with maybe them or a similar project. You'll be using their decentralized storage to host some of your products.
Yeah, essentially, yes, it is about working with the blockchain community because blockchain, the long-term aim, I guess, for crypto in general, blockchain is to be very interoperable. And so different blockchain components will be able to operate with different blockchain components rather than having to build the whole infrastructure yourself. Once, if it's out there in the community, then it makes sense to make use of it and everybody benefits. The guys who create storage or whatever it is, they'll be able to benefit, and then because they can specialize in that, and then we specialize in what we specialize in and come together to create a product which works in the best way for the consumers.
Perfect. I'm definitely glad to hear that. That is awesome. So on the platform itself, there will be three different roles, and you're going to be able to participate in the system in a variety of ways. So just reading through your white paper, I saw they're going to be basically sellers, people that use Photochain to market their product. There will be buyers, someone who visits the site with the intent to purchase those photos from the sellers, and then the moderators. So if you could just give us kind of a breakdown of each of those roles.
Okay. Yeah. So a seller, as you can imagine, on a photography-based system would be a photographer or someone acting on behalf of a photographer as a seller. And a seller will be able to essentially come to Photochain. They will first have to register and verify their identity so we know they are the legitimate person who they say they are. At this point, they will have the rights to be able to sell digital works on Photochain. And they both set their own prices. They will be able to take an active part in the community. As a seller, you can, you can say, if a buyer comes to you, and I'll get onto buyers in a sec, so if a buyer comes to you, you'll be able to set your own terms with them, rather than just going back to how a current photo stock works. Of course, you don't have these flexibility, but as a seller, you would have the flexibility in terms of how you want to sell your work, and perhaps sell with royalty-free licenses. So with current Shutterstocks, of course, you have a lot of the issue of licenses, whether it's a 1-year license or how many uses or whatever. But then this is all flexible depending on the seller themselves. What else about the seller? Yeah, as I say, once they're verified, of course, they'll be able to do a lot of different things, take part, an active part in the community as well, because the aim here is not just to build a buying and selling marketplace, but there is a whole community of photographers behind it and of people interested in photography. And as somebody who is selling photography, it's about promoting the arts as well, I think, rather than just making a bit of money from photography, of course. As a buyer has slightly different rights from a seller. A buyer doesn't necessarily have to register. They can stay anonymous if they like to. Of course, if the question comes up of whether they have this license or not for this photography, then the purchase transaction is linked on the blockchain, and so which essentially is linked to their name, because at some point they would have had to register their name somewhere on the blockchain, whether this is in Ethereum or on another system or whatever, and this will pull back, so the name will be connected in a certain sense. So if need be, then of course they can always be tracked down through their wallets. Buyers also will be able to take part in the community. They will be able to help with the upkeep of the community, although we expect it to be more those sellers/contributors that are doing this. Which, coming on to upkeep, then this will generally be what are known as moderators. So if you are a seller who is also, solving claims, and for example, if there is somebody who has stolen somebody else's work and is trying to put it off as their own, sell it off as their own work, then the process is that a claim is first raised. This goes then to a moderation panel, which are 10 higher ranking contributors/moderators. And once there is a consensus reached amongst these 10, and it's a manual consensus process, whether this work is a copyright or not, or whether they are breaking copyright, then if it's true, then of course then this person is ejected from the platform. If not, then the process will continue as normal, and then there might be further investigation as to why these claims appeared, etc., etc. But for a moderator, then they will be rewarded for this claim. They will be rewarded with photons. So this is the token that is used on the Photochain. So they will be rewarded for the work they do. So as a moderator, there is an incentive to actively take part in the project.
Okay, gotcha. So then for the, let's see, so for the copyright protection, you're using basically an algorithm called the digital copyright chain. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. So this is the DCC. And the aim here is to protect the photographer's work by using what's known as P hashes, which are photography hashes. But the digital work is essentially hashed into the blockchain as it's a fixed hash, and anything that's they are constantly compared. So any new photography that's uploaded is constantly compared to the P hash of anything that's existing. And of course, if there are any clashes or anything that's very similar, then this will be detected by the algorithm as something. It will be flagged essentially, and this will go then to a manual, as I said, a manual claims procedure where 10 So by using 10 moderators as well, of course, you get a wide range of a wide consensus.
Okay, perfect. So I have one more question on that, and that is the P hash, the digital copyright chain, that protects copyrights on the Photochain platform and on the blockchain, correct? But is there
Yes.
anything that could possibly prevent someone from taking an image from Photochain off the blockchain and maybe distributing it on a different platform, on maybe Shutterstock or something like that? Is that something that
Uh,
the DCC can prevent?
the DCC itself, if there is a if there's a photo, to purchase this photo, it has to be bought. So once you're on the platform itself, you would have this is how current photo stocks are. It will be in a smaller thumbnail size image, where it's not high resolution. It's not something that's very usable. There may well be more watermarks. Somebody will have to then purchase this photograph to be able to access the real live photo without any watermarks, without any identifying features, etc. And if the photo then appeared later on a different photo stock, it would mean that somebody who has purchased this has shared this via whatever procedure with somebody else, or maybe themselves, and then they've gone to a Shutterstock or Getty Images and they've uploaded to try and profit from this. But then that's perhaps a bit more identifiable who that is, because you can go through your list of sellers and you can take a manual process and figure out who this is. So I wouldn't say, I mean, the DCC, yes, of course, helps with this because it's recorded within the blockchain who has purchased this. But in terms of comparing off-chain to on-chain, that's something that's a little bit more difficult. But you can see who has taken it off-chain. So it's still always recorded on the blockchain. So that's the advantage, I guess, of using blockchain technology in any copyright claim.
If any changes are made to the platform, a consensus is required from the photographers. Is that right?
Not just from the photographers, but it's by users. So users will be ranked individuals on the platform. So this can be your buyers, your sellers, or even your moderators, those who essentially take an active role in the community. The higher your ranking, the more input you have towards different votes. Because I haven't mentioned before, the long-term aim here, or the medium-term aim for the project, is to become a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization, where the community as a whole, Photochain as a community, is self-sufficient. It doesn't require a CEO, it doesn't require a CTO and all these traditional roles. The community essentially works for itself, for the benefit of itself. And so those who are higher ranked on the community would be those who have solved more claims, those who have sold more photography, just things like this that give them active trust. You could be a buyer, but you'd have to be a verified buyer, perhaps, and then taken some active role also in probably solving claims, etc., in order to be able to get a higher ranking. And once you have a high enough ranking, you're able to vote on the direction of the community.
So then, as far as making a change to the platform is concerned, do the token holders have a say in that at all?
It's more about your ranking.
Okay.
Generally, to be on the platform, yes, you would have tokens, but the tokens are used more as a currency on the platform itself. There is potential to, the more tokens you have, this is something that's still under discussion, but could be to increase your ranking. But it's more about your ranking, which will be your proof of stake in the community. So because you want someone, rather than someone coming along and just buying up all the tokens and then having a large majority and then be able to control the future and the direction of the project, you need someone who has, or some guys, or a general, just people who have had a long-term interest in the project, they've actively taken part, they've helped solve claims, they've seen that the day-to-day operations are fair and everything is functioning normally. So then, of course, we want to reward these guys. And these are the guys who we trust based on their previous actions to be able to make the better decisions for the project, rather than someone just if it was a proof of stake based on tokens and how many tokens you hold. Of course, then someone can, if they wanted to, be completely biased and move Photochain in a particular direction. Somebody could come along and offer a crazy amount of money, buy all the tokens, and do whatever they want.
That's a good point. I thought about that. Excellent. So as far as the tokens themselves are concerned, I love the name, by the way, the photon. That's what the tokens are called, right? Photons.
Yeah, yeah,
That's like the elemental, like the basic part of photography. So I think that's the perfect name.
yeah,
But
yeah, exactly.
talking about the use cases of it, as far as I can tell, there are three different use cases. So the photons can be used for buying or selling photos. They can be
Hmm.
used for rewarding the moderators for their effort, for their work, and then also for exchange trading. Is there anything else that I missed there? Any other uses?
So these are the three main use cases as we see for now. So of course, for buying and selling, yes, you need a token to be able to buy and sell on the platform. So this goes hand in hand, I guess, with the exchange trading. So let's say someone's currently holding Bitcoin. Of course, you'd go to an exchange or perhaps a Shapeshift or an equivalent and convert your Bitcoin or other crypto into photons. Then you take these photons to the platform. You'd be able to buy photography using these photons, depending on the price of, or whatever. If you have enough or not, you might need more photons, just like a normal transaction as you would imagine in any cryptocurrency. And then as a reward, so as we said before, we take a 90. So the seller is hopefully making 95% of all transactions, and there is a 5% transaction which goes into a community pot. This reserve pot is for rewarding those who help solve claims or reimbursing claims, and it also helps to improve. There is a potential, and this is something we are still thinking about, whether those who have more photons, and it may well be just those photons earned in a particular way through solving certain claims, these are the ones who would have a higher ranking. But as you said before, that yes, these are the three main aims: buying for purchases of photography, for a moderator reward system, and for exchange, for trading on exchanges.
Okay, perfect. And eventually, you plan to offer your own exchange within the Photochain platform. Is that correct? I thought I read something about that on the white paper.
Yes, that's a long-term aim, of course, because we want to focus on the platform itself at the beginning, but it would make it a lot easier to have an own platform built in the system. So rather than people having to go off the site, off the platform itself to be able to exchange, they might go off the platform, but then I don't know, something could happen that they won't come back, for example, if they're a new user. But if they can do all this in-house, if they want to immediately pay, let's say perhaps it's a pay with Bitcoin, and that's immediately converted in-house into photons, and then the equivalent is actually probably the other way around. So they will be quoted a price in the photon amount, but they only have Bitcoin in their wallet, or more likely Ethereum actually, since it's built on the Ethereum blockchain. That if they do have Ether, then this photon amount is converted immediately into an Ether amount, and this Ether amount could be taken from the Ether wallet. So it just makes the aim essentially is just to make everything so much easier for the buyers, because having to go off chain or off the platform, off the DApp, and buy your own currency and then come back, for some people may be a little bit complicated, especially if they're photographers who don't have such a background in cryptocurrency, or they just want to test the service, or there could be a million different reasons, and they're just not used to how cryptocurrency can be a little bit daunting, I guess, for new users. So to have something in-house would just make it so much easier for
Definitely.
everyone involved.
Perfect. And you bring up another good point. It will be based on the Ethereum blockchain, but instead of being an ERC20 token, it will be an ERC23 token in an effort to make it forward compatible. Is that correct?
That's the aim, yes. So just thinking about the future here, and just trying to foresee what would be most compatible with all future iterations of the Ethereum blockchain. And this is what was decided on as being the most optimal solution.
Perfect. I like that. So speaking more on the token itself, when
Mhm.
will the pre-ICO and the ICO launch?
So the pre-ICO is aiming to go ahead next month, looking around 17th, 18th of November.
Soon.
There is a 30% discount for any investors during the first week. This comes down to 20% for investors in the second week. This will be open, I believe, for a month, and then the ICO itself will occur early 2018, late January, early February, around this time. And At this point, there will also be discounts for early investors in a sliding scale over a 6-week period, I believe, or the 4-week period. And so that's so that will happen early next year. So we're looking to move things forward very quickly, and hope to see from this point, of course, an alpha version of the project 6 months after the ICO, so sometime early middle next summer, and then a full live version 12 months from the ICO.
Beautiful. And for this coin, the max supply is going to be 500 million coins. Is that correct?
Yes, so 500 million photons. Anything that is not sold during the pre-ICO or the ICO will be burnt immediately. So there will be no, so it's a fixed amount after that point.
Okay, and looks like it's going to be about 0.0004 ether per photon. Is that going to change between now and then, or that's about 13.5 cents, I believe, per photon? Is that right?
Based on current exchange rates, yes. The exchange rate to ether will not change. Of course, there are discounts, as I said before, depending on how early you buy in the pre-ICO or in the ICO. But this is the nominal rate. So this is our non-discounted rate, is 0.00304. Just not to confuse everyone.
Perfect. And what was I going to ask? Oh, right. When will it be available on exchanges, and what exchanges do you plan for it to be listed on initially?
In terms of exchanges to be listed on, that's perhaps a bit of a difficult question. That's of course, you'd like to be on all the big exchanges, perhaps, but some of the smaller, more crypto-focused exchanges would be ideal. Someone like a Bittrex or Shapeshift would make things very easy, of course. If you could get onto a big exchange, then that would be great. Maybe not at first, but if everything goes smoothly and as the platform grows in size, then it would be nice to be on some of the bigger exchanges. I don't know, GDAX or Coinbase or someone exciting like that.
Back to Photochain itself, are there any competitors in the space already that you will have to deal with?
In terms of a blockchain project, no. So we covered live competitors at the moment. So these are your current photo stocks, your Getty Images, your Shutterstock, Adobe stock, etc., iStocks, so all these guys. But in terms of a blockchain-based project, there is no one that's doing this at all. So there are no competitors in this space, which makes us the first to be able to do this. That would be great, and it would be just great just to bring a peer-to-peer element to the photo stock market, because that's what these offline competitors, that's essentially what off-chain competitors, sorry, that's what they don't bring, that's what they don't have, this peer-to-peer element. And so because of that, of course, they bring in all their fees, etc. So it'll be great to have totally different, it's a rethink essentially from where they are and to what we're intending to do, to be totally peer-to-peer.
Excellent, perfect. So will there be any open API connectivity to perhaps Google Suite, Dropbox, anything like that?
There are plans. It's in later iterations. Yes, there are plans for these. Right now, of course, it's not the priority, but yes, of course, we want to be able to make it as interconnectable as possible and interoperable as possible with existing services. So yes, there will be much more later on down the line.
Perfect. All right. Well, that is pretty much all the questions I had for you. Is there anything maybe that I missed? Anything else you would like to add?
I would just like to say, I guess, so of course, being a very new project, there is a lot of discussion. There is a great fervor from the photography industry themselves. Looking forward to a project like this. So anybody out there that's watching or tuning in, please support us, whether you're a photography enthusiast, a crypto enthusiast, or just a peer-to-peer enthusiast. Get involved, check out our website at photochain.io, and please get involved in any way you can.
Absolutely, and we will be providing all that information, a link to the white paper, a link to the website itself, and you actually have an alpha like website set up to where people can go to it and see what the system is going to look like once it is finished,
Yep.
right?
Yep. So right now, actually, there is a live prototype. So come along, have a look at the prototype. I would say check it out. It's It's very simple, but there's a lot going on under the hood, which is probably the best thing about it. Because as someone, if you're not familiar with crypto in itself, you're not familiar with blockchain technology or anything at all, and you're just looking for photos, then it's very simple to use. It's just like other photo stock. It's essentially like Google Images. And you find a photo you want, you click on it, the transaction is made. You just click to confirm that you want to make this transaction, and then you see immediately that this is your photo. You see that it's uploaded in IPFS, and you have this permanent link to it. So it's very simple, it's very straightforward to use, and I hope people come along and check it out, and it convinces them.
I did take a look at it actually. You're right. It is the presentation is very attractive. It is easy to use. I love this whole project. Of all the stuff that I've looked into recently, I think this is the most promising project. I love Photochain. The only problem is, as with any other ICO or token sale, it won't be available to U.S. citizens. Is that right?
Due to this, of course, from a legal point of view, yes, there are legal regulations right now is a very hot topic surrounding
Yeah.
ICOs, unfortunately. In the long term, we hope things will be able to resolve themselves, and of course, we want this to be available to as many people as we can. But unfortunately, due to regulations and things outside of our control, there's not a lot we
Definitely.
can do due to these things.
Definitely, yeah. I was not trying to say that that's your fault by any means. I know
No,
it's
no.
it's the U.S. regulatory structure. I hate it. I really hate it. I mean, it limits our access to a lot of the best exchanges out there and all these ICOs. I wish we could participate directly in this Photochain ICO. I really do. But instead, we'll just look for it on the exchanges. Once it hits the market, we'll be buying it up, I'm sure. I know I'm going to be
Yeah.
looking at it.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Harris, for talking with us today. I love learning about Photochain whenever possible.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. I had a very nice time. It was a very enjoyable experience. And yeah, hope to speak again soon.
Likewise.